It's a very good evening to you and welcome to our special pre-election show in which we look at the election issues of ordinary South Africans in the run-up to the national elections on the 7th of May. My name is Leanne Mannis and a very, very good evening to you. Well, as usual, we start with a look at today's election campaign stories. First up, political parties are stepping up their campaigns as the polling date draws to a close.
ANC National Chairperson Baleka Mbete was on a door-to-door campaign in Khayelitsha on the Cape Flats. It's a community faced with challenges that include unemployment and a slow pace of housing delivery.
We have a situation like you have seen in these areas where people are unemployed, there is no source of income, there is nothing to address their daily needs, and the councillor, the DA councillor, has never come here to visit them, and yet government does have services that could address their issues.
Mbete said the ANC was determined to regain control of the Western Cape. ANC Women's League President Angie Matsecha was in Gashabalala near Hazyview in Mpumalanga, where she acknowledged the lack of proper roads and other infrastructural problems in the area. Later in Hazyview, Matsecha promoted the Women's League's social programs.
We found that people are happy the fact that government has built them homes. They've just recently electrified, but there's still lots that needs to be done. You can see the roads are just not in any state. Fortunately, we are with the mayor of the area here, but also I think people need running water also for their sanitation. So there's still lots of work that needs to be done here.
In Gauteng, DA leader Helen Zille visited the Chris Hani informal settlement at Hammanskraal north of Pretoria. She was met by a large group of supporters. Zille handed out solar power kits as she visited households. Certain sections of the area have no electricity or water. Zille said residents had endured service delivery failure and that water was a basic need. At Tabanchu in the Free State, EFF leader Julius Malema promised to improve the lives of people if his party was elected into government next month.
We are about the economy that should be owned by the people. And any economy that is not in the hands of the people is not an economic freedom. It's economic dictatorship. Our people are economically oppressed because they do not have. Their liberation comes with owning the means of production.
Malema also held rallies in Botshabelo and Bloemfontein. And finally, applications close tomorrow for special votes for next month's general elections. A special vote allows registered voters who cannot vote at their voting station on election day to apply to vote on May the 5th or 6th. The deadline for applications is at 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Well, also some news just in is that President Zuma's visit to the tense Malumulele community in Limpopo got off to a rowdy start as the crowd booed him even before his address started. The community, which has been demanding a separate municipality, has for several months called on the president to visit their region. In anticipation of the president's visit, businesses, some of which were set alight in recent weeks, remained closed for the day. Despite the behavior of some sections of the crowd, the president proceeded to speak. Now, please do take part in tonight's program. You can send us your emails to elections@sabc.co.za. You can also SMS us on 33726. Just begin your message with the word vote, and that will cost you R1.50. For tweets, use the hashtag SABC elections, or you can also find us on Facebook at SABC News Online. Now, the troubled village of Stackspruit in the Eastern Cape is one of the province's hotspots ahead of the general elections. Residents have been protesting since October 2012. They're demanding a stand-alone municipality.
Stackspruit is a small town in the mountains on the border between Lesotho and South Africa. The generally rural town has many residents who depend on social grants for survival. Stackspruit, Lady Grey and Herschel fall under the Sinqu local municipality. Residents here claim the slow pace of service delivery is the driving force behind the demand for a standalone municipality. They have formed a civic organization to fight for their demands.
I encourage the youth to vote because we get free education, because we are in a democratic country.
We want a standalone municipality so that our needs can be addressed. As I'm speaking to you, we do not have water in my community.
During the IEC's election registration period, residents boycotted the registration, threatening to abstain from voting.
In the first and the second registrations, we as the people of Sterkspruit, we took a decision to abstain and not participate in the voter registrations because of reasons that when we engaged with the ANC and also when we engaged with government, we did not get responses. All our negotiations collapsed, and we still believe that if we are not considered, it is therefore useless for us to engage in the process of elections.
The government says Sterkspruit residents did not follow the correct procedure in applying for a standalone municipality.
Insofar as government responding and making known as to where there was an issue, how that matter can be attended to, because indeed there is not a possibility that we can have a municipality in this area as one of the demands have been made.
The police had to be called in from time to time to monitor the protests as the situation threatened to turn violent. During the elections, the Defence Force and police will monitor the area to ensure there is no intimidation. Simkita Maqingwane, SABC News, Eastern Cape.
All right, well, as you heard, that is our reporter Zimkita, who we are now going to cross live to for the very latest news in that Eastern Cape town. Zimkita, a very, very good evening to you. All right, doesn't seem that Zimkita can hear us at this point. Hopefully, we'll try and establish that link with her to try and get her a little bit more from Sterkspruit in the Eastern Cape. But right now, let's take a break on this special pre-election program. We'll be back with more after this. Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to get served some extra cold music, fresh from the studio to your phone. Are you ready for an ice cold dose of musical refreshment? It's all here. Get your local and international music before everyone else does. 5 brand new tracks every week on Extra Cold Music.
Buy 2 Cross the Lights. Text your codes. Get 1 free track.
Izindaba ezimnandi kubo bonke abantu abanenkinga yezilonda esiswini nasesifubeni. Uvukahlale Power Booster novukahlale Pain Relief ususize abantu abaningi abanezilonda ngaphakathi. Phuza uvukahlale Booster novukahlale Relief udle ipapa lavukahlale insuku zonke. Kulapha kupholise izilonda esiswini nasesifubeni. Uvukahlale amakhambi emvelo aphephile.
As part of our Johannesburg Street Challenge, we met with Terence and Elise. They've been OUTsurance clients since 2001, with car and home insurance and cover on Terence's many toys.
I've had 3 cars replaced and the service has stayed constant and excellent.
In that time, we have settled several claims, totaling over 280,000 Rand. To see how much you could save, SMS quote to 31570. OUTsurance, you always get something out.
For those of you who do not know me, my name is Dr. Moloi. I am a prophet.
Next on Stokvel.
Hey, Yima. That's a pain, this is a pain. Oh, moya wezizwe. Sanundilimaza ngingumthunywa nje.
Yini uphethwe inhloko ngikunika iphilisi.
Ukuxolele mojo. Uyazi kanjani le nto umuntu uphiwe.
Behold the miracles of Stokvel. This Wednesday at 9:30 on 2.
Welcome back. You're watching the special pre-election program right here on SABC2. It's good to have you with us. If you'd like to join in the conversations, you know you can. Just get hold of us on Twitter. Just use that hashtag SABC Elections. We'll find your tweet there. And you can also log on to Facebook and you can find SABC News Online. That will be the page that you can post your comment on there. Now, voter apathy among young people is a very worrying aspect of this year's elections. Here in 1 minute are more views from the younger generation on this particular issue.
And vote count and changes more community.
This is my first time voting, and I feel like I can contribute something towards the country.
It's my first time to vote, and I feel so happy and excited because I've never voted before.
Voting for anyone in South Africa just means that it's a chance for us to kind of speak our mind in a way.
I'm happy to vote for the first time in my life. It
makes me feel as if I can make a difference in this country.
Londo futhi indenza nami ndibene confident obana mandivote mhlambe zikhona izinto ezinotshintsha for thina abantu batsha
ukuthi abantu bakhuluma izinto eziningi wonke umuntu ufuna ukwenza i-difference mara isikhathi esiningi asivote so nami ngicabanga ukuthi ngoba ngizovota ivote lami to make a difference.
All right, let's try once again to cross to our reporter Zimkita Matlingwana for the very latest news in the Eastern Cape. Let's find out if we can speak to her. Zimkita, good evening to you. Zimkita, good evening to you. No, we really do seem to be having problems with that crossing. Zimkita's in Staksbreed in the Eastern Cape, so unfortunately I don't think we can go to her at that point in time. Well, here is something I think that you might find exceptionally interesting, is that voters will be facing arrest if they use cell phone cameras in the voting booths on election day. This is according to the IEC's Chief Electoral Officer, Masutu Moepya, who said the prohibition of camera equipment in voting stations is partly to prevent voters from taking pictures of the ballot paper as proof of who they have voted for. Moepya was talking about a regulation that prevents political parties from inducing voters and giving them incentives in exchange for votes.
And you say to them, you go and vote for me, and when you have proven that you have voted for me, I then pay you something. That's the kind of inducement that is prohibited. You will recall that in our Electoral Amendment Act, which was passed in December last year, we specifically dealt with this issue in our regulations, which required that no photographic equipment would be used inside a voting station, particularly when voters are marking ballots. It is to stop that sort of thing. You may go in with a cell phone, but you will not use a cell phone for photographic purposes. That's what it means. Voting stations are not places where we have safes and things like that, where if you walk in with your cell phone, we'll then take it away from you and say, put it in that safe, and so on and so forth. But you need to know that if you use any photographic equipment, which includes a cell phone that has a camera, that you are committing an offense, and we have police in the voting stations, and we will get you arrested when you're caught. It is that simple.
All right, for more on this story, let's chat to SABC News Online. Well, that's going to be covered by SABC News Online. We've got in studio with us the executive producer for elections, SABC Digital News, Stephen Lang. Good to have you in studio, Stephen. Nice to see you. This is not really new. I mean, it's something that's always been in place, but it seems to be more of an emphasis put on it now. No cell phones, no photographs of the ballot paper. Talk to us about this.
It's a very interesting thing. We only discovered it today. It was re-emphasized to us by Masutu Moepya. And it's because, first of all, suddenly everyone's taking selfies. And so there was a fear that people would run into the ballot booth and they'd take a selfie of themselves and look crazy like that. But there's a fear that people will be told to take a photograph of their marking a particular party.
Yes.
And then they would take this particular ballot paper, a photograph, showing the person outside that they have voted for this party, and they will receive financial compensation for that. And that's obviously very illegal, but they wanted to make this rule now to prevent this from happening. So it's kind of a weird thing. But
yeah, it's amazing. I suppose in this technological age, that's just the way things are. And like you were saying, everybody taking pictures of everything they're doing these days. Is it going to be, I mean, what happens? Would you sort of be forced to switch off your cell phone before you go in and vote? Or is it as strict as no cell phones are allowed in that voting booth at all?
No, not at all. He said it's just practically not possible to remove everyone's cell phone before going into the ballot booth. So what he said is people can take their phone in, but you're not allowed to take photographs.
Okay.
And he warned quite strictly. He said, we will have police in the booths and in the area, and they will arrest you.
Okay.
So don't take a chance. No selfies in the ballot
No,
booth.
so, okay, so in other words, I can't hold my phone and smile at myself when I'm about to make the big X. Not allowed. You heard it here. Do not take a selfie of yourself. No selfies.
And in fact, he said none in the whole voting station, which is the area around the ballot booth as well.
There's also no
selfies.
Really? No photos around that area.
We're not quite sure what this means for the media, because what happens if a newspaper photographer comes in there and wants to take pictures as well?
Absolutely. I mean, we've all those photographs of those queues around the voting stations and people standing outside and capturing those moments of people, especially the born frees. I think that's what everybody wants to capture this time. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see. On another issue, what elements around the election are SABC Digital News currently focusing on?
We're doing our best to make as much use as we can of multimedia effects that we have. So, for example, we've set up a map, an interactive map that maps out all the service delivery protests, because there's obviously a linkage between service delivery protests and voting. So we want to see, are people in these particular areas? You can see it on screen now, and you'll be able to zoom in and see have a closer look at where there are service delivery protests, and you'll be able to match those protests to the voting outcomes. Ultimately, we'll be able to put that and see whether there was any impact. People that were unhappy with the service delivery, how did they vote? This we will see along the way. And we're going to keep mapping this out, and you can follow it up whenever you choose. Another interesting map that we're putting onto the website, it's there already, the Digital News website. We have a campaign trail map. We are mapping out where all the heavies, the big high-profile people are campaigning. So you'll be able to slide along from one day to another and see who has gone campaigning where. Now, obviously, we can't put everybody's campaign there because there's dozens and dozens of campaign events happening every day. But you can see it's interesting, it shows you who's going to campaign in a particular area, and then there's a little bit of background information as well. And in some cases, when we have video, we're supplying video to the campaign trail as well.
That's fantastic. So that's if you get onto the SABC News website, you'll be able to track and find all of this as we're going. Stephen, thank you very much for talking to us here on the program. Stephen Lang is the executive producer for the elections for SABC Digital News, and constantly being updated with all election news. And when it comes to the election day and voting day and results day, it's absolutely incredible what gets onto that website. So do visit it quite regularly. All right, third time lucky. We're going to try our luck once again. Zimkita Matingwana, she is out in the Eastern Cape. Let's find out if she can hear us and just get an update from the area that she's in right now. She's in Stagsprate. So Zimkita, good evening. What's happening there? All right, not having any luck. You can't say we didn't try. We can see Zimkita standing by. She's there, she's waiting, she's ready. But unfortunately, we just can't get through to her. All right, apologies about that crossing. Unfortunately not. I don't think we're going to be able to cross to her this evening. All right, let's take a break here on the program. We'll have some more election news after this. Stay tuned.
dumb ways to diet. Rather, eat a Provita. Provita is so tasty, crispy and light. It's high in fiber, low GI and less than 100 calories per serving. Provita, best baked by bakers. Win your share of 500,000 Rand in cash and prizes. See pack for details.
I'm Jack from Telkom Business. A sandwich while we wait for everyone?
Sir, he is everyone.
We do so much more than just landlines, sir. We're on the journey to convergence. One solution, all your business communication needs from one service provider.
State-of-the-art fixed voice and mobile networks?
Yes.
Can you set up internet?
Yes.
Cloud services?
Yes.
IT solutions?
Yes.
Can you do this? One word, impressed.
Talk to us about a tailor-made solution. Convergence. One solution, one service provider. From Telkom Business.
Joburg Theatre, in association with SABC2, presents Daughters of the King. Don't miss this music spectacular, only over the Easter weekend. Get your tickets at selected Pick and Pay stores or at www.joburgtheatre.com now.
Tonight on Sevendelaan.
Die man wat maar sien, David iemand. Ek sien nie die man nie. Waar kom jy aan hierdie nonsens? Jy het my vertel.
Sevendelaan, tonight 6:30.
Welcome back, everybody, to this special pre-election program. Another interesting election issue is the matter of Pilgrim's Rest in Mpumalanga. There's a great deal of unhappiness around the uncertainty regarding the renting out of businesses in the historic mining town. Let's now cross live to our reporter, Mweli Masilela, in Pilgrim's Rest in Mpumalanga. Good evening to you, Mweli.
Good evening, Leanne.
Give us an update of what's happening in that part of the world.
We are in Pilgrim's Rest just to talk to the people here about their issues that are affecting them ahead of the elections. What we have noticed on our coming here is posters of both the DA and the ANC showing that these are the two parties contesting this area. But of great concern here was the issue of tourism in this town, that tourists are starting to shun this town. To give us more on this issue is Sherry Goodwin, who is a resident who's been staying here for 16 years, and also she is the tourism officer in this area. Sherry, can you just tell us more about this town? What is the state of affairs?
Well, Pilgrim's Rest was an icon for tourism in Mpumalanga. We were one of the main places that people used to come and visit. But we need a lot of excitement being generated here again. We need a lot of infrastructure being upgraded. The roads in the area would need a lot of work. And maybe what we could do is have some projects that would generate a lot of tourism and also bring a lot of jobs to the people of the area, because Pilgrim's Rest has done nothing new in a long time.
Are we seeing tourists streaming in as before?
No, not to the same extent. We're still popular with international and local tourists, but I think they think that they've been here now, and we need to do something really new and exciting to bring people back here and to make this town very viable again as a tourist destination.
There is Sherry Goodwin, who is the tourism officer in the town of Pilgrim's Rest. But to respond on the issue, we've got also the spokesperson of the Department of Public Works, who are responsible for the maintenance of this town. David Nkambule, can you just tell us how do you respond to her comments?
Good evening, Mweli, and good evening to the viewers. We have done some work in this area, this town of the town. More than 15 million has been invested on infrastructure development. Of the 15 million we have spent in terms of infrastructure development, we have upgraded 37 of the commercial businesses. We have appointed MRCT, that is the Mpumalanga Regional Trust, to deal with the issues of the Royal Hotel. They are very pleased because they've been able to turn the province around in terms of the infrastructure here and also in terms of the tourists that are coming in the Royal Hotel. They've appointed and absorbed the labor that was left by the former tenants. So there's quite a lot that we have done in as far as infrastructure is concerned. We have also, in terms of upgraded some of the houses, the sewer system, the streets. We have done also some painting, and also we have done a lot of plumbing in as far as this town is concerned. There's so much in terms of infrastructure, notwithstanding that Pilgrim's Rest is a very old town. And there are heritage issues that we're constantly dealing with in terms of it being a heritage site.
Well, I have to stop you there, Mr. Nkambule. Well, that was David Nkambule, who is the spokesperson of the Department of Public Works. Well, we'll wait and see, because the department is saying there is a lot that they have done, but we'll see what the residents of this area will decide when the elections once are conducted.
Thanks very much, Mweli. Mweli Masilela reporting live from Pilgrim's Rest in Mpumalanga. Well, it's time now for our popular Soapbox slot, in which party leaders, especially those of smaller parties, get a 1-minute opportunity to state their case directly to you, the viewer. Here is Ubuntu party leader Sydney Organe.
We need to get to decisions that are good for all people. And if decisions are made that are not good for all people, then they are not good at all. We also need to look at freeing the people from the corporate control, the bankers, etc.
All right, well, that's a wrap for tonight. We'll be back with more election news for you tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.